August the 19th, 2016. My name is Tanya Finchum. I'm with Oklahoma State University, and today I am in Sallisaw, Oklahoma, which is in Sequoyah County. And this is to interview Karen Robbins as part of our Cowboy in Every County project. So thank you for having me today.
Thanks for coming.
Let's learn a little bit about you, beginning with when and where you were born.
I was actually born in Shawnee, Oklahoma, on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 1953, at a hospital that's not even there anymore, the ACH Hospital in Shawnee, Oklahoma, 63 years ago.
On Valentine's Day?
On Valentine's Day.
Did they do anything special for your mother?
No, but they really, my mom and dad tell the story, they really debated on naming me Valerie or Valentine or something like that, but they didn't, thank goodness. I'm glad they didn't. But you know, it's been a very fun birthday. People don't forget very often. And it's not like being Christmas that you have to share it with some major holiday. I mean, it is. It's kind of a romantic holiday, but it's a fun birthday. People don't forget very often.
And you get candy for sure.
Yes, that's right. And flowers usually, yeah.
Well, were you an only child or brothers and sisters?
No, I have two sisters, one a year older and one a year younger. My sister Lynn is 13 months older than me and lives in Oklahoma City. And then I have a sister Beth that is 18 months younger than me, and she actually lives in Stillwater. So, yes.
Three of you, and you're
three girls.
And you're the middle.
Instead of my three sons, we have my three daughters. And my dad said, you know, he could have tried 10 more times and probably would have had 10 more girls, so he just quit.
And what did he do for a living?
He was in the savings and loan business, and I think our whole OSU heritage was based probably on him. He was an avid OSU fan and was president of the Alumni Association. And we were trying to figure out before you came. I talked to my mom. She's still living. My dad is not still living, but he got Alumni of the Year. And we can't figure out what we have a picture, but we can't see the year that it was on the picture. And he was president of the Alumni Association 82-83. So it was sometime after that he got Alumni of the Year. And my daughter, we were talking about stories last night, and she said she actually can remember being there at that ceremony. It was in the student union. And anyway, he was in the savings loan business his whole life, and his dad, he went to OSU out of high school and actually was a walk-on for Coach Iba to play basketball, and he said he kind of was just a grunt, kind of ran scout team, but he always talked about, you know, they all call him Mr. Iba, and how much he respected him and how he really influenced his life. And then the war came in there, and you know, I know we've talked about it, but don't really remember all the details. But Dad had to go. He went for a few years and then came back and finished at OSU. But towards the end of his OSU time, his dad got real sick, and his dad had the savings loans business in Shawnee before him. And so he left college, and his professors and people at school helped him to finish. He just lacked like one semester, and he had to go and take over the savings loan from his dad. He was a business major. And so, I mean, just really out of college. And my mom is from Shawnee also, but they didn't date until OSU. And they met or dated there and then got married, and she never finished. She never got her degree. She left before she got her degree.
And what was she majored in? Probably home ec or education.
Yes, I think that, you know, something like that. Probably getting a husband. I don't know. She'd kill me for saying that, but you know, she never said. I don't know. I need to ask her that. I don't know what her major was, but...
and what were their names?
Nancy and Hayler Fisher. Fisher was my main name.
Just F-I-S-H-E-R?
H-E-R, and his name is Haylor. Hayler. It's a real unusual name. His dad's name was Haler, and he was Junior, Haler Hillman Fisher Jr. I have a picture actually of his dad and him. His dad had the first automobile in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and there were pictures in the paper of that. But he was a Purdue grad, his dad, so I don't really know. I never heard the story on how Daddy got so enamored with OSU, but even they have in Shawnee one of the biggest things. He was a Kiwanian, and one of their big things is they put on what they call the Little Olympics. And he was the starter for all the races on the track and field, and he always wore an orange coat. And they actually have it in the museum in Shawnee, this coat that Daddy always wore. And he even, you know, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to wear orange jackets as president of the Alumni Association. But he had that one too. He had two of them. The one, his starting jacket, it didn't have OSU on it, and then his OSU jacket that he wore, of course, about like Coach Budke anytime we played OU or he went to an OSU event. But he was kind of the basis. We, all three of us girls, are graduates of OSU, and my sister Beth has two girls, and my sister Lynn has a daughter and a son, and I have a daughter and a son. They're all OSU graduates. Wow. And then my son went to OSU Medical School and is a general surgeon at OSU Medical Center in Tulsa. So it's just all in our blood. And
did they have a choice of going there or somewhere else?
You know, maybe. I don't think if it had been OU, we might not have paid for it. My daughter, the one that you'll get to talk to later, she looked at Baylor a little bit. We took her down there and she looked at Baylor a little bit, but her heart just wasn't in it. You know, when that's all they've known, they feel comfortable there. We went there a lot for games and different activities, and Stephanie was even saying she remembered, and I didn't remember this until we talked about it last night, when she was a junior in high school. I don't even know if they still do this, but they recognized outstanding juniors and brought them to OSU, I guess, to try to get them interested in going to college there. And she got to go with two other students from Sallisaw. I don't really remember. Are they still doing that?
I think they
still do that.
Mm-hmm.
But she said that really made an impact on her. So she, it's just in our blood. We love it, and have, of course, had season tickets for forever. And you know, I know a lot of people make sacrifice to go to games and different sporting events, but of course you drove here today. It's not an easy drive to go up there and come back in one day for a football game or a basketball game or something like that. So it's a pretty big commitment. I think there's probably a lot of places in Oklahoma it's like that. For years we sat by some people at the football games who were big OSU fans and lived in Oklahoma, and then he got transferred to Houston, and they would drive up to football games from Houston. It is a long trip, but it's amazing how dedicated I think OSU fans are, and loving and caring and giving, and so and we've maintained contact with those people in Houston. We sing Christmas cards, and their kids are growing up. We knew them when they had little bitty ones, you know, and we had little bitty ones. So it's been fun.
Well, let's back up. When did you graduate from high school?
I graduated from high school in 1971.
And then started OSU
immediately.
Fall of 71?
Yes. And that's kind of an interesting story. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Was leaning towards nursing. And of course, OSU at that time did not have a nursing program. And my dad was all about us girls getting degrees. I actually think OSU might have had maybe like an associate degree or an LPN program or something in Oklahoma City. Maybe it was just, I really don't remember, because my dad wasn't, that we weren't going to do that. I was going to have a degree. And my freshman year, I pretty much decided that's what I wanted to do, and we started looking at where I was going to go and what I was going to do and how I was going to pursue it. And at that time, about the only nursing program was at OU. And of course, that was a very hard pill for any of us to swallow because I really wasn't, but I really, really wanted to be a nurse. And so I applied and got accepted. And about April of the year that I was going to start in the fall, there was budget cuts in the state legislature. And OU said they were not going to take any transfers from any other school. They would only take the nursing students that were already enrolled at OU. So it was kind of like, going to be summer, and I didn't know where I was going to go. And we started doing some research, and TU had just started a nursing program. And my mom was trying to help me with it because I was going to school and in class, and she called, and the secretary at TU graduated with my mom from high school. And they knew each other, and she pulled some strings and kind of got me in TU. So I transferred from OSU to TU after my sophomore year. And then I graduated with a degree in nursing from TU. I mean, unfortunately, I don't really claim TU. I probably should. I got a great education there and, have been able to be a nurse for a lot of years and enjoyed that. But I still say I'm an OSU grad, although my degree's from TU.
You went 2 years.
That's right.
That counts.
That's right. And all my kids, all my money went there. So, you think that's got to count for something, right?
Well, where did you live while you were at OSU?
I lived my freshman year in Kerr Drummond, and then I pledged a sorority, and I was an Alpha Chi Omega, and I moved to the Alpha Chi house my sophomore year and lived there my whole sophomore year. And that's a whole wonderful experience too. I know it's not for everybody, but when you're from a smaller town and you don't know a lot of people and you go to a college, it just kind of gives you a group of people to be a part of that you recognize when you walk across campus, and you have people looking after you and giving you advice on kind of how to do things when you don't know a lot of people. So it was a great experience for me.
Well, during that year, did you have to pump?
Yes, we did. And did spring sing, and what was the other one besides spring sing? There's one in the fall and one in the...
There's a review?
Yeah.
That's something review.
But it just seemed, I look back and of course my kids were both, one of them was in a fraternity, one of them was in a sorority, and they did all that, and you watch them and you think, how do you do all that? How did we do that? No sleep and trying to study and keep your grades up and have to do the hours you have to do with all of that. But, then you look back and it's such a great memory, and there's so much camaraderie, and you get to know people in other houses, fraternities, and you probably get to know your sisters better, and everybody stays up half the night putting those little things in the chicken wire, and now it's changed so much. We always try to go to walk around, and how they do all the shading and look in 3D, and it is amazing. We didn't do any of that. It was just pretty basic, and it was back then just like it is now. The AGRs kind of were always the best. You always wanted to be with them because they were so good at it. But it was a great, fun experience. Just how excited you get about homecoming and what such a major production it is, and kind of everybody being together and cheering, and then you go to the game and you all sit together and you find out who wins, and it's just great memories. When I was at OSU though, football was not, they weren't very good. So I can remember going to some games, but I know today, like my kids being there, they never missed a game. It wasn't as big a deal when I was at OSU as it is now. I do remember my sister Lynn, she was a sophomore when I was a freshman, and I don't even know what made us decide to do it, but we took a bus to an OSU Kansas football game They picked us up at like 6 o'clock in the morning at the dorms, I think in the dorm parking lot. And you got on this bus, and I think we stopped and ate lunch somewhere, but I think we were going to like Manhattan. And we went to the game, and everybody kind of sat together. They'd gotten us tickets, and then you got back on the bus, and we came back to OSU. I mean, it was a fun time, but I don't know that I'd do it now. I mean, it was a long day, but it was a fun time. But, you know, I don't remember that as a major memory for my time at OSU. That football and basketball even wasn't as big a deal then as it is now. As an adult, you know, we go all the time, and I think we're making all this effort, and we didn't do it that much when I was there.
Had other priorities.
Yes, I guess. I don't know.
Well, and with your dad having played, I'm surprised you didn't.
Well, basketball was always a bigger deal than football because he had played basketball. And as a matter of fact, my mom and dad lived in Shawnee forever, their whole lives. And about probably 15 years, 20 maybe, my dad had pretty bad diabetes and heart disease and had to have one leg amputated. And they still had season tickets to the basketball games. And he wasn't driving anymore, and my mom would drive him. I mean, it's twice a week during basketball season. And she finally said, Haler, I can't keep driving that road. It's a 2-lane between Shawnee and Stillwater. And they decided to move to Stillwater so they could continue. I have a sister that lives there, so that made a difference too. And then he ended up having to have the other leg amputated, so it was a really good move because my sister was there, but they were able to continue going to all the basketball games because they moved. So they now live in Stillwater, or she does. My dad is not living, but anyway, that it was I think it was harder for him to move there than it was for her, because he was so active in the Kiwanis, and men would come get him and take him places, and then he moved to Stillwater and didn't really have any friends. But the Alumni Association was good. They would include him in Alumni Association meetings, and I served on the Alumni board for 4 years, and so I would go up for meetings and go pick him up and take him to the meetings. And then they also had they're building some kind of an assisted living.
The ranch.
In Stillwater, is that what it's called? I couldn't remember what it was called. But
it's finally getting off the ground.
And of course he's been gone 5 or 6 years, but before he died, they asked him to serve on a committee that was trying to decide what they needed and what it was going to look like. It was pretty much, I think, in the planning station. So it's been planned for...
Seems like about 10 years.
Yes, that's probably about right, because I think he served on that 2 or 3 years before he died.
I think it's actually broke ground. So.
But it was good. It's just nice that kind of we take care of our own, I think. They knew it was harder for him to get around, so people would come pick him up. And he made new friends there, but I think it was always harder for him. My mom has done very, very well. Met a lot of new people, and she lives in assisted living now, but... people have been really good to her there.
They both had a closet full of orange.
Yes, still do. Still do. She does. But yes, we're all pretty avid fans. My sister Beth that lives in Stillwater, she's married to an OU grad. He is the only one in the family, and he will not be around us when there's a football game or when OSU plays. He goes to one house and all the rest of us are at another house. I was telling Steph and my husband last night, one of my greatest memories or saddest memories or baddest memories was when I still lived in Shawnee, and I guess I was in high school, probably, or maybe junior high. But we played OU and we got beat 66-6. And I was, of course, in football, and I was devastated. I mean, I'm highly competitive, so it's very, very hard for me, especially to ever get beat by OU. And somebody got spray paint and spray painted it on our sidewalk and that score on the front of our house. And big, big letters, like 3 foot or something, our numbers. And I told Steph and Rick, I cried and cried and cried. I didn't want to go to school. And it took forever for that to come off that sidewalk. Is that not? People are just not very nice, but of course we aren't very nice sometimes when we win either. So anyway, a lot of your memories I think have to do with sports and
Yes.
and people you meet along the way. A girl from here in Sallisaw went to OSU and dated who was then center, Tony Wilkins, OSU football player, and he played with Coach Gundy and Barry Sanders and Hartley Dykes and what's the other runner? Gosh, my mind just went blank. Anyway, Hal was probably 4 or 5, my son. Avid OSU fan, avid sports fan, was at all the games. And Tony asked Hal to go in the locker room with him. And he had gotten him a program and had them all sign it. And, you know, I'll take you in there and introduce you to all of them. And he got scared and would not go. And we still give him a hard time about that, thinking, why, you had a chance of a lifetime and you would not do that. But he would not go in that locker room with Tony Wilkins. But it would have been a great experience if he had ever said I could have met all those people. Sure. But he didn't ever go, so now he regrets it.
Well, your sister Beth, when did she graduate from OSU?
She graduated, she was 1 year behind me. So she graduated from high school in 72, so she would have graduated in 76.
With what area?
Business.
Business.
Yes.
And then the other sister?
She graduated 1 year before me, so she would have been 74.
Okay.
And she's education. She's a teacher in Oklahoma City. She teaches at a private Catholic school. She's actually a librarian. And then my sister Beth is CFO at Meridian Technology. She used to be president of Stillwater Bank. Is that what it? I think it went under.
It's like it switched names. I'm not sure
yes,
what it
yeah.
is now, but I think it switched names.
Anyway, but now she's CFO at Meridian Technology, and she loves it.
Well, when did you meet your husband? Was he?
No, he's not. He grew up in Stillwell, Oklahoma, which is 30 minutes from here up the road, and he went to Northeastern School, went to medical school at Kirksville. He's in family practice here in Sallisaw. And I went to TU and graduated from nursing school. And at Kirksville, OSU Medical School, you do rotations in the state of Oklahoma, go to different hospitals, and you're in practice, go to practice with different doctors in the state. But in Kirksville, they had so many doctors all over the nation that you do your rotations all around. So Rick, at that time, OSU Medical Center was Oklahoma Osteopathic Hospital, and that was one of their rotations. OSU didn't have a medical school yet, so they didn't have any students. So he rotated to Tulsa because his family was from Stillwell, and he was thinking about coming back here. So he wanted some experience in Oklahoma. So he rotated here, and I had actually just graduated from nursing school and taken the boards when he started his rotation. I think it was like June. And I had a job, was going to go to work in Denver. I really thought I wanted to become a pediatric nurse practitioner, and I was going to work at the Children's Hospital in Denver, Colorado. But I had to wait until I got my nursing boards back. And so I was working at what was then OOH because I'd done a rotation there. And we met, our first date was 4th of July, and we got engaged in August and married in December.
Wow.
And the night we got engaged, I had an orange Volkswagen, called it the Cowboy Mobile. And the night we got engaged, he was working 12 noon to 12 midnight, I think, or something. And he walked me out to the car. I got off at 11. I was working 3 to 11. And he asked me to marry him out there and gave me the ring. And on my way home, a car ran a red light and hit me. Totaled my car, fractured my skull, broke all my ribs. So I was in the hospital for, 2 or 3 weeks. And he had to call my mom and dad, and they didn't know we were engaged. And I mean, they had barely met him. They were not very happy about it. And they walked in the room, and I held up my hand, and they took him to dinner that night and kind of gave him the degree. But we've been married since 1975, so 85, 95, 2005, 2041 years this year. It'll be 41 years. So it was meant to be, I think. But they really had a hard time because it happened so fast. But you know, just sometimes you just know it's the right thing. But he is an avid OSU fan now, and his family he was raised pretty much an OU fan. I think a lot of people in Oklahoma, you know, if they didn't go to school, one or the other, they are more OU leaned instead of OSU because they win more than we do. But anyway, he grew up an OU fan, but now he's an avid OSU fan. He's probably gets more excited than I do, and that's saying something. But his blood is now orange also. So
you've been
married 41 years.
And you have two children.
Two children.
A boy and a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And they both went to OSU.
They both went to OSU. My daughter married an Arkansas boy, and he's a big Arkansas fan. They were both in ministry. She met him in Conway. They were doing K-Life ministry and got married, and he's a big Arkansas fan. So they did ministry for quite their first couple of years of marriage, and then decided that they wanted to move kind of away from that, and so she decided to go back and get her master's. So she actually got her master's from University of Arkansas. But she went there and was in a program where they let her work, and they let her have free tuition while she was working. So they lived there for a while. I had my first grandbaby up there, they did. But she has a master's from University of Arkansas, a degree from OSU, and she now teaches at Carl Albert, teaches Comp 1 and 2 and creative writing, and then a remedial reading class here in Sallisaw. They live here in Sallisaw now. He's a policeman. Her husband's a policeman. And he's actually the resource officer for the Sallisaw schools. His degree's in education, so it's a real good fit for him.
Yeah,
He's really good at it. And then my son married a girl from Arkansas too. My daughter and son-in-law introduced them. She was in ministry too. And but he's an OSU physician in surgery, a surgeon, and he is the whatever they call it, liaisons between OSU and surgery, or director of students or something, and he kind of heads up the student surgery department with the students at OSU. So he teaches a little bit, and then he comes here one day a week and does surgery on Tuesday mornings, and then sees patients in our office on Tuesday afternoons. So it's a good fit. He loves coming back here and seeing people he knew growing up, and then it's great for a small community hospital to be able to offer surgery to people where they don't have to drive an hour and a half away and then have to get back in the car and come home, you know, after you've had surgery. So it's been a good fit for him, and I think a good fit for our hospital also.
Plus he gets to see Mom.
That's right. That's right. He used to come and spend the night, but now he has 4 children, and my daughter has 4 children, so they're pretty busy with families and don't have a whole lot of time to get away.
And
so.
maybe half of those will go to OSU.
Hopefully. I'm having to fight my son-in-law, the one that lives here in town. He wants all his to go to Arkansas, so, but you know, that's out-of-state tuition, so maybe I'll have a little pull there. But I hope so. Those 4 are big Arkansas fans, but my son's 4 they're big OSU fans.
As long as they go somewhere, I guess.
That's right. That's right. Go to college. That's what you got to pray.
Well, would you go to campus for like Mom's Day and
yes.
Parents' Day or whatever?
Oh, yes. Always was there for Mom's Day, even Dad's Day. You know, Dad's Day's always kind of for a football game, and so we'd go, and he'd spend the time with the daughter and son, and I, you know, usually moms and daughters go shopping, you know, so we'd always go shopping and take care of everybody, and it was fun, and always try to do spring sing. I think it was Mom's Day usually in the spring. I think usually they had that around the time of spring sing, I think, so that was always fun. My kids both sang, so they were always in that, and that was always fun. a fun time.
No, we were talking about visiting campus.
Oh, yes,
as parents.
yes.
Well, what about graduation for both of them? Do you remember anything details about that?
Yes, Stephanie, they both walked. It was, Stephanie graduated in the actual springtime. The neatest thing I can remember about that was, you know how they video them walking down, whatever street, is that Halifax? No. Hester or whatever, yes. And she was on the big screen, and we all thought that was so cool that we got to see her up on the big screen walking down the street to come to graduation. And then Hal graduated actually in 3.5 years in biochemistry and molecular biology. So we were extremely proud of him, and he graduated in the winter or fall semester, December I think it is. So it was totally different. It was held in Gallagher, and it was much smaller, so it was kind of intimate, but intimate, is that the word? Yeah, but it was a fun time because there weren't a lot, and in his major, you know, I think they do it, don't they do it by schools or whatever, and but he graduated early because he wanted to work some at a hospital and get some experience before he had been accepted to medical school in the fall. So he graduated and then moved home and worked at our hospital kind of just as an orderly, but they let him do a lot of stuff back in ER, and he learned really a lot, and I think it was a good experience for him as he became a physician to have done, because he gave baths and did some of the not so pleasant things, so now I think he has more respect for people who do that, and I think it was good for him.
Well, as youngsters, would you take them to games? Like, were they, I don't know if they had Pete's Posse back when they were younger.
No, they didn't, but and of course, like I say, we weren't quite as good, so getting tickets weren't as hard, but my mom and dad always had season tickets, so a lot of times if they wanted to go, Daddy'd just get more tickets or whatever. But Rick was talking about one game that he and Hal and my dad went, and he said there must have been 3 feet of snow on the field. And he said we were playing Kansas, and he said it's the coldest he ever, he said you could barely, it was snowing so hard, you could barely see the field. And those players played, he said they left at half. But yes, we went to games. The first one we ever took Hal to, or my dad took Hal to, he took him a lot. He got so scared when they shot the guns that Daddy said here he had done this big deal, got him a hat and everything, and took him, and then he started to cry and wanted to go home because he didn't like the guns. But we also have been as a family to 2 Final Fours. We went to Seattle and San Antonio. Is that where it was? I think. And we've been to almost all of the bowls as a family. We have had a great experience just the last few years. My niece works for Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys, and the last 2 times we've gotten to play at the new Dallas Cowboys Stadium, she's gotten us a suite. So we've been to 2 games and got to sit in the Dallas Cowboys suite, and I'm telling you what, that's the way to watch football. That's nice. You have all the food and drink in there, and you're sitting, those suites are so nice because you're down pretty close to the field. It's not like you're way up high. But so we've gotten to do a lot as a family, and most of the trips and great things we've gotten to do had to do with OSU.
Well, in Seattle, that would have been when Big Country was playing.
Yes, Big Country, and
he's from this county.
Yes, right? He is from Gans, Oklahoma. You could have interviewed him. He would have been a good one for you to interview. He's been, he's a big name. He lives actually, I think, I've never seen his house, but he built a pretty big house out kind of on the lake. So, he's pretty active, I think, in the Gans community. He doesn't do a lot here in Sallisaw.
I see him at halftime. Sometimes they'll introduce him at basketball games.
Yeah, and the other thing is Scott Pierce. You remember Toothless in Seattle? He played in that Final Four, and he got his teeth knocked out in the previous game. It was like New Jersey or something. And when Hal was a senior in high school, he was hired as the head basketball coach in Sallisaw. So Hal got to play for Scott Pierce his senior year. So it was a really, really neat experience. He was course, a big OSU fan, and Hal was a pretty good basketball player, and so that was a great, he'd come over here and hang out, and he wasn't married at that time. He is now and lives in Fayetteville. They have kept in contact, but that was a neat experience too, that we got to meet him and got to spend time with him. It was a fine young man.
Sports has been a good...
Yes, it has been. Education too. You think about Hal and, him being a physician and Stephanie, being an educator, and, I think, they've provided a great education for my kids and for myself.
Well, when you were there, did you have a favorite place on campus that you liked to spend time at?
No, I
Not
drank
not
a
the
little bit in
library?
college. It wasn't the library, sorry. But there was a really, really good place, and we still talk about that, down on Washington, kind of across from the AGR. How long have you been in Stillwater?
Since 96.
Well, I think it was called the library. It was a hamburger place. And you walked in and you walked down steps, and it was kind of sunken down, and it had a big fire pit in the middle of the restaurant. But they had the best hamburgers you have ever eaten in your life. Mm. But it's not there. They tore it down. And then they had a place called the Gray Fox, which was where everybody went to drink beer. We spent quite a bit of time there. Oh my gosh. I look back and think, what was I thinking? I think I drank too much when I was in college. I don't drink now, but...
Well, and you'd attend dances, I would think, had been in school.
Yes, and I was kind of thinking back, I met a guy that I thought I was going to marry that I didn't when I was at OSU. I was thinking about that, how they did the sorority and fraternities. Do they still do that? Like a date night or coke night, or I can't even remember what they called it. But you would line up. It was a pledge class of a sorority with a pledge class of a fraternity. And they had lined you up by height. And then like the shortest person got the shortest person. And of course I was always the tallest. So I was always the very end of the line. But I met a guy on one of those, and I dated him the whole time I was at OSU, and even my first year that I was at TU, and then we ended up breaking up. But there's a lot of those kind of things. It wasn't like it was when my kids were in school. They did a lot of, kind of major, maybe 2 or 3 each, I guess, fraternity or sorority would have a major dance, and they would go away, like, and stay in a hotel. The guys, if it was a fraternity thing, not together, but they would get the girls a room, and they'd go on a bus away. But ours weren't that major. It was always like right on campus, and I can't ever remember driving anywhere.
Did you have a house mother?
Yes.
Or a couple, or is it just a woman?
Well, I just lived in the Alpha Chi house 1 year because I transferred to TU. So I don't remember her name. I remember more Hal and Stephanie's house mothers, because you kind of keep in contact with them when your kids are there. But I don't remember her name. I don't remember who it was. But we did have a house mother.
And how would you do mealtime?
They have a big dining room in the house, you mean? Mm-hmm. They have a big dining room, and they always set the tables, and we always talk about it's not really reality in the sorority house, because you have people that kind of work for the sorority, and they pick up the plates and, do all, you don't have to clean the kitchen or anything, but you do have to have manners. There was, they have formal dinner on Monday nights, and then the other meals, they kind of they give you a time, and you have to eat during that time. And if you don't eat at that time, they always had like peanut butter or, bagels or something out that you could eat if you couldn't make it to the dinner time. But it was always you have this formal dining room. It had tables like this that they had set, and you'd go in and sit down. Mm-hmm. And on formal dinner night, they really worked on teaching you manners and good etiquette. And if you sat with a house mother, they teach you how to take from the right and pass to the left, and how the forks were supposed to be. And so my mom was, I guess because she had been in a sorority when she was at OSU, she was kind of a stickler for all that anyway. So she made us learn that growing up. So that wasn't real hard for me, but it's fun.
Would you go back and fourth home very much those 2 years?
I did. I don't think a lot though. We only had one car. My sisters and I shared a car. And, of course, back then you didn't have cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to call home once a week, and we called collect on Sunday nights. And when we were all three there, we needed to be together so we could all talk. And, I think it was pretty expensive. Mm-hmm. So we got to call. So it wasn't like today when you talk to your family every day on the phone or whatever. But so I don't think we did go home, but it was more for, like, if you had a long weekend. I think my mom and dad would come up to OSU for football games, so sometimes they were there, for that. But no, we didn't. I don't think we went home a lot. I don't think it is like it is today. Of course, my kids didn't come home a whole lot either when they were at OSU. They're so busy, like you said, with doing the pomp and getting ready for different activity things that they have to do, playing in intramural sports, and I don't remember doing that either. I don't know if they had intramurals. I'm sure they probably did when I was there, but I don't remember doing that.
Well, at holiday time, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, did you have any family traditions that involved OSU or anything like that?
Well, just if OSU, not so much my family, my mom and dad, my two sisters and I, but a lot of times when my kids were growing up, if OSU was going to a bowl, that was part of the holiday tradition. That was something they got as a Christmas gift. We would go, we always made plans to go and attend it. But of course you have OSU ornaments on your tree, and I have I don't know if you've seen them, the OSU yard, they make the OSU, the snowman, the Santa Claus, and elf is what mine are. They were some of the first ones that were made. My mom and dad gave it to me for Christmas one year, and I still have them. They're looking really bad. I need to get new ones, but not so much, not anything more than just trying to get to a bowl game or attend something. A lot of times they have an exhibition or some kind of OSU basketball game. And like if it would be in Tulsa, sometimes they do one, like they've done them before at ORU, that we try to go to, like over Christmas break or something, yeah. But not any big OSU tradition, like doing a meal or something.
A whole tree orange?
Yeah, no, we don't do that. We don't. I do have OSU ornaments, quite a few, and I love them, but not the whole tree.
Well, do you know the alma mater? Or do you have to read it when it's...
Yeah, I think you read it when you're singing it, so then you don't really, I know it's loyal and true or whatever.
That's about all.
If you hadn't asked me right this second, I could have come up with all of it, but I
Herald Your Fame or something.
Yeah,
Herald Your Fame.
To our alma mater, OSU. I can't think of it right now. Yes, you would think I would, as many times as I've sung it at OSU football games, but...
You'd be surprised how many can't, so I'm like that. I read it.
Yes, you do read it because it's up there, and so then you don't put it to memory, I guess. No, I can't. If I could maybe come up with the first line. I can't come up with it right now. I'm 63. I'm starting to lose brain cells a little bit.
I doubt that.
Yeah, I think so. Steph might could. She's pretty good at that.
We'll ask her.
Yeah.
I'll ask her.
Yeah, okay. I'll let you do it. Maybe she'll get it. I'll be mad at her if she gets it and I don't.
When was the last time you were on campus?
Like for an OSU event
Just for
or
any-
just
for
for anything? Well, I'm going this weekend to stay with my mom, and I'm taking my daughter and her 4 kids, and we always go to Theta Pond. They want to go see the ducks. So I'll probably be there this weekend, but I also probably was there. Sorry. A lot of times I go down to the student store to shop when I'm there, and I was there in June and went to the student store in June.
Well, around Theta, did you see the new carving?
No, I haven't.
There's a new carving. You'll have to. The kids will love it. It's a stump and a little boy fishing.
Oh, really?
One of the trees.
Like all around on the edges where they've kind of...
One of the trees died or whatever, and they carved.
Who
this
did
out of
it?
I'm not sure. I watched a little bit of it because he used a chainsaw to do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, now
It's
I
cool.
know you know this because I know he gave you my name, but we're so excited about campus and how it looks, and I always have to drive my mom through because she's a master gardener. But Steve Dobbs is from Sallisaw, who is now the head of, well, I don't know what you call it, landscaping or groundskeeper at OSU. So we are, it's so beautiful. Everything
It's great.
is so, the pots he's done, and I mean,
And
it
the
is
Tupperwares,
so,
the boot and the hat. And then
it's
the
so, and we're
OOHRP.
so excited that it's him, and he's such a neat guy, and of course grew up here, so
He's going to I want to interview him later about the campus.
yeah.
But since he didn't live here, I couldn't do it for
But
this
he
part.
does. He had for a while. They've got quite a bit of land between here and Vian, and for a while he had a greenhouse out there, and you'd go and get your summer plants there and all that.
It looks
so
great. In the
It is beautiful.
In the last 10 years, it's just.
Yeah, and that's about how long he's been there. Maybe not
About
quite
that.
10, but yeah, he's amazing. So we always drive through there and look and try to see what he's done different, and then I always try to email him or something and tell him how pretty it looks.
Well,
He's
it
a
looks
neat guy.
great. And your mother likes to go too.
Oh yes, she's a master gardener, so she loves, and she is on oxygen. She has pretty bad congestive heart failure. Is on oxygen all the time. Can't really get out and walk, but I'll drive her all around. We try to drive in nooks and crannies and let her see. And she always will say, if we're going somewhere, even to the bank, will you drive me through campus? So we.
Well, from Monroe, you should be able to see the carving.
Okay,
Pretty
I'll
easily. It looks
drive
like a
her down
person
that
at
way.
first, but because it looks pretty real from the road. So
I'll drive her down there
She'll
and
like
see.
that.
Yeah, I don't know if she knows about it yet. So she's telling me that tonight they're having some big thing downtown with food trucks and music and.
I've not done that, but they do have.
Is it to raise money for something or?
They just have gotten into
Oh.
food trucks.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if it's every Friday or once a month Friday they bring
Yeah.
them in. I don't know. I haven't been.
Yeah, I don't think we'll go either with 4 kids, but she said it's always really busy and just keeping up with all of them is kind of hard. They're 10, 7, 5, and 6 months. So
Hands full.
yes, we do.
So from Shawnee to Stillwater
To Sallisaw.
all S's.
Yep.
Where do you
Yeah.
consider home now?
I consider Sallisaw home. Although we talk about that too, you think about when you die where you're going to be buried. I'm sure we'll be buried here. You start being where your family is, and even though I still consider Shawnee, probably I really don't consider Stillwater. I've never lived except college in Stillwater. I actually lived in Tulsa too, and then Kirksville, Missouri when I got married. But I consider Sallisaw home.
If you've been
I've
here,
been here 40, not quite 41 years, but because I married Rick and then we went back to Kirksville and he finished medical school 2 years, and then he did his internship at OSU Medical Center, and then we came here. So we haven't been here. We've been here about 38 or something like that.
it's
But
home.
I consider, more than half my life.
Yeah.
So Sallisaw's home for me.
Yeah, I think. And you could have gone anywhere, but you chose to stay in Oklahoma.
Well, my husband's brother, Barry, was in practice here in Sallisaw, and he asked Rick to come back and go into practice with him. And we moved here for Rick to go into practice with Barry, and then we got here in June, and Barry decided in August he was going to go back and do a neurology residency. So he left and has not come back here. We've had the practice by ourselves since then, but that's what brought us here. Stillwell was home for him, so it's only about 30 minutes for him. And then at that time, my parents were living in Shawnee, and we're just about 2 hours, right on I-40. So it was a good place for us. And I love eastern Oklahoma. It's so beautiful here, and you have the green trees and hills, and it's so
hills,
pretty. Yes, yeah.
And you
It's
can get to
different from
Stillwater
where
in
I
about
grew up.
2.5 hours.
Yeah. It's not too bad.
Not bad.
The only bad part's going through Tulsa and the traffic, but, it's not too bad if you can hit it not at rush hour.
No, I guess you could go I-40 to
You could.
177.
You
Take
could.
a little longer, maybe.
Yeah, it does.
You
It
tried it
does.
all.
But I have done that. Yes, I have done that. I've done that a lot. especially as you get older, you start kind of worrying about. I worry more about one time Rick and I were on our way to an OSU football game, and I was driving, and a deer ran in front of me, and I should have just hit it, but you try to avoid it, and I lost control of the car, and we hit those concrete barriers and flipped over it. So it was we both, of course, walked away and lived, but it makes you a little more aware of, I don't really like to drive now at dusk or early because I think the deer are out. You just get more cautious, I think, as you get older.
We do.
So, yeah. So, and this is the first year in probably 25 years we did not renew our tickets this year. It's just getting, it's just hard as you get older to get home at 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And
Basketball and football?
we never had basketball. We could get, we just couldn't take off work enough to go twice a week. But we have had football for probably 25 years. But this will be the first year I'll be sad. But, you have to start thinking about your health and...
Hey, you watch it on TV.
That's right. That's what. Yeah. Now almost every game's on TV.
Almost. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
You were good supporters and still,
Yes.
still
Yes.
are.
Yes. And we still will probably go some. And if they go to a bowl or do anything like that, we'll probably try to go. But it's just too hard the drive just getting to where we can't do it anymore.
Special time. So
Yeah, it is. Lots of good memories.
it's probably a good place to stop.
Okay.